Hello, hello. Welcome to Wheel of Games, where today we're going to be starting Dredge. Now, this is a game, I've already played the main game, but recently a couple of DLC have come out that are going to be entirely new to me. I loved this game so much when it first came out that I think I 100%ed it within the first week. I remember that was back before they patched out the hooded figures starving to death, so I had to start over at 1.2 within all of that. So I really, really like this game. But I already know the basic stuff, but all of the DLC is going to be completely new to me. So I figured that would be a good time to start entirely from scratch and get into a completely new game. Yep. So let's just start. Angler wanted. On the rocks. Right under the lighthouse. Morning light fills your eyes, and you try to sit upright, relying on the cold, wet dock where you collapsed the night before. A short man is shouting orders at a handful of workers, disembarking from a boat nearby. The man notices you. Welcome to Greater Marrow. I must say, quite the dramatic first impression. I see you've already introduced yourself to the jagged rocks along the bay. Did you not see the lighthouse? It was shining right at you. Well, I'm glad to see our new fisherman upright and breathing. So we are the new fishermen in Greater Marrow. Only one? Your boat was hopelessly damaged, but I've had a few of the locals move your things to one of our old vessels. We'll catch up later to discuss more details. We'll let you get out there to catch some fish. See if you can fill your cargo while you get your bearings in the light. Finally, don't suppose I need to say this, but get back by sundown before the fog rolls in. Keep a close eye on the time, it can really creep up on you. Okay, so we've got our little boat here at Greater Marrow. Hang on a sec. There we go. Wave sounds are a bit high. Gotta get the audio balanced right in this game. We've got our basic ship, or I guess this is a loner ship, since our ship crashed. So, an introduction into this game. This is a sort of Cthulhu Mythos adjacent game. I suppose we'll see how Cthulhu Mythos it is as we go forward. But we are an eldritch fisherman, and we've arrived at Greater Marrow, right in the middle of this sort of archipelago of different areas. And we're the new fishermen. We've answered a help wanted ad, and so here we are. We're just starting out. We've got just a basic loner boat because ours crashed, and we're going to learn how to fish. Also how to steer. Okay, so time only progresses when you're actually moving. If you're just staying still, nothing happens, but when you're moving, time goes forward. Time will also move when you fish. Oh, there's some fish right here. Let's see. We can look around. Okay, start fishing. So fishing is made up of little mini games. Let's see, I'm just covering really just the tiniest portion of the bottom of the boat there. And so the most basic fishing minigame. Push the button when it's in the green zone and you catch a fish. Then you place it on your boat. Yep. You still make progress even when you're not hitting the green button, but the button, I guess, pushes you forward on the progress by a bunch. You can see stock medium, so we are... now it's down to low. So we are basically using up the fish in a location. I might be able to do one more. Yep, there's our little progress thing going up. Okay. Now, if it... the fish stocks do replenish over time, assuming that it hasn't changed since I last played. So... But if you completely exhaust a spot, it takes longer to fill back up. So, just good to have, let's see, continuous fishing, replenishable fishing. Oh, there was a little question. Let's go look at that. Hello. A floating buoy. Serves to mark the safe passage past dangerous rocks and obscured hazards. This dim light also provides brief respite in the gloom of night. Well, even though they said to beware fishing at night, that's something that, because I've already played, I'm fairly well able to deal with. I know a lot of the basic hazards, but uh-oh. Let's see, that sort of do not fish means we don't have the right equipment. We only have, let's see, this basic fishing pole can only catch coastal fish. And these flounders, it looks like, we need shallow for that. So we are too basic of a fishing vessel to catch those fish. And you can see that they actually look a little bit different. So let's see if we can turn our light on and off. Ah yes, there's a separate button for selecting which of these things is active and then actually using it. We have a little foghorn and a spyglass. For the spyglass, you can actually inspect the types of fish and also what kind of equipment you need to be able to pull them. So you can look at that at a distance. So you can see there's a bunch of coastal fish around. It's just this particular one we're on top of that we can't grab. But we also saw there's stuff for dredge that looks like a little ring with an X through it. So we're going to need specialized equipment to pick that up. Oh, and then abyssal, that's way out there. That's probably going to take us a good long time to be able to pick those up. So it's probably a strong suggestion at the beginning of the game to stick towards the relatively very safe... Ooh, what's that? Oh, oceanic. Kind of looks like a shark. Stick to the relatively safe insides of this nice little bay. It was called Marrow, basically. So you've got Greater Marrow. I'm pretty sure that's Lesser Marrow over on the other side. And this is sort of safe. It's not completely safe, but it is relatively safe. Let's see. Oh, disturbed water. Let's see, did they all say disturbed water? I can't tell, but we want to fish as much as we can. Make the most out of every fishing thing we can do. And yeah, the time's going by pretty fast while we're fishing. That's another reason you want to hit those green portions, is if you get the little boosts, then you spend less time fishing, and so you can get more fishing done in a day. Yep, time only advances while you're fishing. Oh, that's a different type. Looks like a stingray. Can't get those. That's more shallow. Ah, but those we can catch. Looking ahead helps you not waste time going out to a fish that you can't actually pick up. This is a fish with a different... I'm pretty sure I hit that button when it was over. Ah, a different shape. So it takes more space, maybe more valuable? Hey. Oh, and you lose a little bit of progress if you hit the button, and it's not correct. Oh, I got all the fish there. Oh, and maybe those took a little bit more time. It's now starting to get dark, so we turn on our lights. And there's an interesting little, let's see, floating bottle over there. Let's go check that out. Although it is getting dark quickly. Ooh. I'm not sure if that was a fish in the game or a motorcycle out on the street. But that big pillar of lights is definitely new, and probably from one of the DLC. Can I pick this up? Ah, collect item. Okay, we've collected a message. Let's see, that looks like a floating buoy. Yeah, more stuff out there we can't really get to yet. Not without the ability to dredge. And now you can see the fog has come in, so it's much harder to see things around us, even with our light on. It's only showing us... Yeah, the lights don't push back the fog very much. At least with the very basic lights. Well, we don't even show having any lights on the ship, which shows how basic they are. And yeah, fog and other things increases our panic. And panic... Oh, there's another thing to look at here. The panic is basically your sanity measurement. The more that eye in the top is twitching, is the more likely that weird things are going to happen. And honestly, I don't remember what all the weird things might be. The lighthouse towers above. Waves crash endlessly against the perilous rocks below. This lighthouse is very nice. Oh, all creatures, human or otherwise, would have their brittle bodies broken and thrown at its feet. You ponder the intrinsic power of this structure, a vast column of stone, shouldering the responsibility of countless lives. How long will it stand? How long until it decays into ruin, its purpose exhausted? The lighthouse towers above. Okay, so a nice long intro to the lighthouse itself. I could store maybe 2 more fish, and let's see, are these even the same fish? No, at night the fish change. So now we've got these little squid things we can pick up. Oh, and that's also a completely different mini game. This one's just going back and forth instead of going around in a circle. So we've filled up our boat. Let's keep it simple and head into the dock. Oh, did that rock just appear? Interesting. I thought I saw something out in the bay. I'm sure it was nothing. Once you get close enough, you just have to hit the interact key, or hold it down, and you'll automatically dock. Helps you not crash. You step onto the dock at Greater Marrow. The mayor is waiting nearby. I see you've returned in one piece. Very good. Before you head off to town, we should discuss the matter of your boat. As I mentioned earlier, your old boat was too badly damaged to be repaired. However, I'm more than happy to sell you that replacement vessel, yours to own. I understand you may not have the necessary funds on hand, so we'll consider it a loan, but I want to make this easy for you. Until your debt is repaid, a tiny portion of your fish sales will go towards paying it off. A small amount of interest will go towards improving the town. So to recap, you'll need to sell fish to the local market, paying off your debt, and in turn, keeping the population fed and satisfied. Yep, well, where do I sell the fish? Our local fishmonger will appraise and purchase what you catch. He's open all hours. Even at night. Off you go then, sell those fish while they're still fresh. The freshness of the fish is something you have to worry about. You enter a squalid shack on the fringe of the marketplace. The familiar smell of fish fills the air. Flies buzz haphazardly around a downcast man behind the counter. You're the new fisherman, eh? Surprised they found a new one so fast. What happened to the other one? It takes a certain type of man to last out here. It's not a life for everyone. Anyway, to business. I'll pay you for fish. Bigger and fresher means more money. Some species are just worth more, too. Other towns on other islands might pay you different, but while you still got a debt here, I'd suggest you work on paying it off first. Let's see what you got. So there is a sell-all to just make everything fast, but we can take a look at how much each of these fish were worth. So each one of these mackerels, based on the size, it's worth different amounts. So this 19 is worth less than this 23. So if you really wanted to min-max, you could try to just keep the biggest ones and get rid of the smaller ones. You could, let's see, you could discard them, just toss them overboard if you wanted. For these small ones, there's not really a big change in value. Or like for the mackerel, it's maybe a change in $1. But the bigger the fish you get, the more of a difference it would make. Like this 70 versus... Well, it's still only like $1.50, but we're at the beginning of the game. Maybe as we go on, the quality of the fish will matter and we'll want to keep only the best. But for now, this is not a bad haul for our very first one. Maybe if I'd swapped a mackerel for a cod, that would have been an extra... Ooh, that's a tiny mackerel. So that would have meant like the difference of $15. which is not bad, especially not at the very beginning. So we'll just sell all the fish. And now that these spaces aren't used up anymore, we can see, so we've got our basic fishing pole, and it takes up slots in one of these sort of, fishing pole spots. So these spots we can install different equipment to, and like the sum of all of them together can increase your fishing speed, meaning you spend less time fishing, and so you have more time to sail around and get more fishing done. There's a spot up here for a headlamp, so if you have better lights installed on your boat, then when you turn them on at night, it will give you a better sort of safe area around you, and it will help keep the insanity away a little bit more easily. And down here we've got these spots for propellers. So there's different engines you can get, and it shows like speed plus 14 knots. Let's see, even if you don't have any engines on your boat, like for example if you damage your ship and it becomes disabled, you can still putter along at a very, very low speed. But you need engines to be able to move around at any kind of a decent speed. And, oh yeah, so plus 14, that means the basic boat speed is 10. So you can still go not terribly. And if this is a plus 35, that means the basic is fishing speed is 50%. And any improvement makes that much nicer. And storage, I wouldn't recommend storing fish, because the fish will go bad and ultimately become unsellable. But if you have other stuff, like, say, different engines or different fishing rods that you're not using, like, say you've swapped them out, and you don't have space for both a coastal and a shallow, you can switch over to just fishing shallow for a bit, and you can just keep the coastal one in reserve in case you end up needing it. Ah, the mayor is standing outside the fishmongers. Excellent work. I have no doubt you'll be able to provide for this town. Look here, I found this down by the docks. I'm sure someone like you could make something out of it. Why don't you take it? You must take these items. So, research part. Let's see. Oh, one last thing. Our local shipwright mentioned she might be able to make some modifications to your ship. You should pay her a visit. So, ship loan repayments. Let's see. I can't talk to the mayor right now, but we've already made significant progress towards paying off the debt for the boat. That's something nice about this game. It doesn't put you incredibly into debt and you spend the entire game paying it off. No, it's more of a introductory thing to encourage you to stick around the starting area for a little bit and get your bearings, as opposed to just sailing off to the horizon and leaving this place behind. So, the ship loaner payments, it looks like we basically bought the boat for $50. Something like that. I'm sure that this is all metaphor for larger amounts of money, and we're just making life easier by having the dollar amounts be small. Because I'm sure we could have more than 10 fish on our ship, for example, so it's just a stand-in for like a dozen of the same kind of thing. Okay, our shipwright. Let's go meet them. As you walk into the yard, you see the shipwright making repairs to a damaged hull. She looks up at you briefly before turning back to her work. Ah, you must be the new fisherman. I can make improvements to your vessel in the yard. Mind you, I'm not in the business of doing favors around here. Payment is up front, and everything takes time to install. Also, if you take on any damage from the rocks, or, well, any damage at all, I can patch it up. Mostly. She shrugs and gestures towards the hull she's currently attempting to repair. A number of wooden boards, all well above the waterline, are splintered and scratched. Now, how to get damaged above the waterline? Take a look around. Just remember, the bigger the equipment, the longer it takes to install, so plan ahead. Okay, so see that install time of 2 hours. If we were to uninstall it, it would still take us 2 hours to just put the same thing back on there. So you have to be very careful about misclicking and getting rid of your equipment. Basically, you want to have your plan before you start messing around, because there is a time cost to all of this. Now, when we say time cost, it's not like there's a deadline of any point. I guess at the moment we're accruing interest on the boat. But for the most part, we really don't have like time pressure. It's just how much time you want to spend out fishing versus this is taking away from the time you would have to spend sleeping, so you'd miss a day of fishing if you end up spending all night doing installation on the boat. Let's see. To storage. Yep, so we didn't need to keep that on the boat. It's not fish. And so, different rods we can install. The simple skimmer. 2 hours to install, fishing speed only plus 10%, but it will allow us the ability to catch shallow fish. Then we've got this weighted line, so it costs double, but the fishing speed is plus 40%. And even though this one says it only catches the shallow fish, that fishing speed is applicable to all of the different rods that you have. So it's still plus 40% when you're catching the coastal fish as well. So this is just a remarkably better fishing rod. It's we just quite don't have the money for that, but I'm sure tomorrow, another day of catching coastal fish, and we'll be able to easily afford this thing, and then we can start catching the shallow fish as well. So that's cool. I don't think I want to spend the 75 tonight, unless the shallow fish are so great that I can make the difference of the 75 just in catching the shallow fish. Actually, you know what? That's probably the case. Let's buy this thing. We also have to store it on the boat. So we buy that, it'll take 2 hours, and we just position it in. The actual orientation doesn't matter, it's just which spots do you want to block off where you can't put fish on the boat. So we've got that. Actually, I suppose that's a good example, but let's see, refund. Okay, it doesn't take the money, or it doesn't take the time until you put it in the boat. So I was just looking at the fishing rods. Well, we've got other things, like different engines. So this first one we've got is a peculiar engine. It takes up the 2 spots in a line, but it adds 14 knots. Someone's tuned this engine in an unfamiliar way. Whatever they did seems to have given it more power than normal. Versus the ones you can buy, these ones are just rusty engines, won't get far with this, but it adds 10 knots. So that would boost our speed up from 24 to 34. Also limiting the number of fish that we could catch in any one time. But there are other things. We can't do trawling yet. And lights. So, oh, it even highlights this is where you could put that. So the cloudy lens here. Yep, lumens plus 750 and 20 meter range. Okay, so this is the crack bulb. That's, I guess, the worst one. 500 lumens at a much smaller range. So lumens, measure of light that it's putting out. That is how bright it's going to be. So that's like how much it will help your sanity. And the range is how much of a impact it'll make on the fog around your ship at night. Now those are remarkably expensive for what it is. Maybe I'm underestimating the bad effects of sanity loss. So having looked at what, yeah, these are all pretty expensive things, like $100. I think I'll still stick with what I was doing at the start. We'll get the simple skimmer, and tomorrow, or once daybreak hits, we'll be able to fish for shallow water fish. And can I do anything else about the shipowner payments right now? Let's see, fishmonger, we don't have any more fish now. I could simply undock and go right back out and start fishing for shallow fish right now, but we probably should rest. Research. One more thing before we rest. So you can see this is basically our research tree. So as soon as we spend those research parts that we picked up, we have one that's now in storage, and you can see the cost is measured in research parts underneath. Once you spend it, then that little white gear gets filled up, and now that's something that will be available, I think, for purchase from the mechanic, so you still have to buy it with money after unlocking it. But, for example, this flexible fishing pole, it's coastal and shallow all in one, so we wouldn't have to have the 2 separate fishing rods. We could just have this one fishing rod on one side of the boat, and we could store or maybe sell back the 2 other fishing rods that we don't need anymore, because this one is basically the other 2 combined. This is really awesome, but we only have one research part and we can't unlock it yet. So maybe that's something to target for tomorrow. We haven't unlocked pots or nets yet, like crab pots or a net we drag behind us. See, it looks like this is the entire fishing, or the entire research tree, so research parts looks like they may be hard to come by. Ooh, but we can see... Yeah, we don't even have a space on our boat that can fit this right now, so we must get bigger boats at some point. Yeah, you've got mangrove and coastal versus shallow and volcanic. Interesting, we haven't seen any of those other types of fish yet. And then this one is basically combining all the parts of those two. So this looks like it takes up 3 spots, that takes up 3 spots. This does both in the space of 5. Versus Abyssal and Hadal. I don't even know what Hadal means. Abyssal, I can imagine, is just super deep. And Hadal, I'll have to look up that word. Neat. Just did a quick research thing. It's pronounced Hydal, and it's even deeper than Abyssal. It's like only the oceanic trenches are that deep kind of a thing. Cool. So yeah, you've got some different things. It doesn't have as many spots, so this must be an extremely efficient fishing thing with all those lines. But engines, an improved outboard engine. So this is one that is as good as our peculiar engine. I guess technically slightly better. So this would be much better than those old rusty ones we can buy at the shop right now. And it only takes 1 to do. If it wasn't that there was something so good that I've got my eye on, I might just spend the research part on it right now. But these are all different engine upgrades we could get. And unfortunately we can't see the stats on them unless they're something we can unlock right now. So we couldn't like plan the whole thing out, but our boat can't support these anyway, so let's not look too far into the future. Okay, so no reason. Oh, we can talk to the mayor. Hey mayor, I've got 26 bucks. I'd like to pay off some of my debt. Of course, how much would you like to repay? All of it. Fantastic. Now, what else can I do for you? Great. No interest after night 1. But we can also ask him about things. The last fisherman? Oh, he was very unreliable. I mean, time's not really progressing, so I don't know what the town clock's doing there. Yeah, 1:30? Not quite accurate. He was very unreliable. He'd go out at night, come back with no fish, and proceed to sleep all day. He was also a terrible captain. I mean, really terrible. Constantly running aground on the reef. Even in broad daylight, the shipwright almost ran out of wood for repairs. No, he was no good. One evening, he left and never came back. So long, he shan't be missed by us. What else can I do for you? We can ask him about the region. Certainly somewhere in particular you wish to know about. Let's see. Oh, I can't open the map right now, but those 4 different regions we saw around the outside, these correspond to the 4 that I remember at least. And we don't really need to go see them yet, so I imagine once I start needing to, like, when I hear the word Gale Cliffs from anyone else, I'll come back and ask him about it. Okay. Now... Yep, there's our storage. Oh, what's in the cabin? Oh, the message! We can read the messages. Morning of the 2nd day of the honeymoon. Our first day proper. Today we're sailing around the islands and inlets at the back of Greater Marrow. So, 1927. I'm not sure what the current date is in the game, but most Cthulhu Mythos-related things are early 20th century. Okay. I love the rocks here. The layers and colors are so striking at the back of Greater Marrow. Furthermore, the fishing is relatively poor in these shallows, so I know he'll keep his hands on the wheel instead of at the rods. He renamed the boat last night. Julie! He did a fancy renaming ceremony and everything. I think he took that more seriously than the wedding. Supposedly it's very important to perform it correctly, lest you want ill fortune to follow the vessel. You want to throw away everything with the old name on it. I kept the keychain. Ocean's Riches was a good name. I think he prepared a surprise picnic lunch. I can see the basket half hidden, stuffed under a blanket at the front of the cabin. I love it when he tries to be romantic. So, maybe this is the old fisherman, or someone even earlier, who had a wife, and these are her logs. Message in a bottle. Tend to find. Notes, journals. Neat. And, the Encyclopedia of Fish. I can't skip over this. This is nice. Every fish that you can find, and ice is new since the last time I played. But every fish is something that you can investigate here. It shows the records of what's the largest one you've managed to find. Whether they can be found at day or night, this can be very, very useful when you're trying to fill out the encyclopedia, which is something I did last time. But it tells you what type of things you need to be able to catch it, so you can catch these squid by trawling, but not with crab pots. And yeah, they only appear at night, versus whatever this mysterious thing is, appears also in the area of the marrows, and there are aberrations that we have not encountered yet. Let's see, that's the arrow squid. So yeah, we've got 1, 2, and 3. Oh, even gives the number we've caught. So yeah, the mackerel are only in the day, same as the cod, and they have multiple aberrations to find. Interesting. But yeah, this is so useful for giving you useful information about them. Practically worthless, but enough to stave off hunger. I'm sure that the aberrations will have interesting things to say about them. I can go one page at a time. How do I go to the last one that I've actually seen? Can I filter by discovered? Oh, I see. So they're in order, so I can just jump to the marrows section. Okay. So yeah, incredibly useful for trying to find the fish that you have yet to find. And there's fun flavor text for a lot of these things, especially for the aberrations. And that's all we found so far, but this encyclopedia is very useful. Let's see the map. Ah yes, the 4 different areas we were talking about. The Gale Cliffs, Stellar Basin, Twisted Strand, and the Devil's Spine. But these are also the 4 that I'm familiar with. I wonder if there's like a... Ooh. What? Ah, this is new to me as well. So there is something to the south. I don't know what these dotted lines are, but I'm sure this game has a reason for you not to go off the edge of the map. Put it that way. So let's go to sleep for a... Oh, maybe not. The mayor's walking quickly towards you. He seems to be in a good mood with a spring in his step. Fantastic news! Oh, this is because I paid off the debt. Greater Marrow is growing. Our town is sure to be swarming with visitors any day now. In fact, I've granted a consent for the shipwright to expand your facilities. The old dry dock is operational again. I've also allocated some money to improve the fishmonger services. He might have something to talk about with you soon. Keep up the good work. We're glad you've chosen to be here with us. All of that at 1:30 a.m. Nobody sleeps around here. But, oh, well, why not look over one more thing? This is the dry dock. We can make significant improvements to your vessel here. We're talking extra space, more attachment points for equipment, even superior hulls. Now that we've paid off the ship, we can get more ships. All on day 1. Maybe day 2, but we'll need a decent stock of hard materials for these projects, lumber, metal scraps, that sort of thing. Well, how do we get materials? There's plenty of decent materials around the coast, from various shipwrecks and the like. I'm sure you'll find a way to get at them. Materials assigned towards upgrades here will be stored, so don't worry if you only have half. So you can do incremental things. So you have to get every upgrade at the current level to upgrade your hull to the next level. And so, for example, if you wanted to just put in every single fishing rod possible on the same boat, forgetting about the space it takes up, you could change some of the cargo space into, like add the little fishing marks so that you can store fishing rods on those spots. Let's see, net spaces. We don't have nets yet, but if we did, we could add spots for the nets to go on the back of the boat, or maybe the sides. And engines. More engine, more power, more speed. And light space. So the second spot at the front of our boat, we could have more lights, and so forth. And then the new hull, so it would add 5 new cargo spaces. That's 9 new cargo spaces. Ultimate ship. Add 15 on top of the other ones. So we've got a really tiny boat right now, but it can get bigger and bigger and bigger. But it takes a lot of money and a lot of materials. So that's, I guess, our main incentive for like upgrading the boat, more space. We've found our progression system for this game. And now we can finally go to sleep for our first night. Yep. As soon as the panicking eye goes away, you don't really need to rest anymore, because you're basically at full health. Now, when we go out, when it's not yet daybreak at, I think, 6 a.m. or something, We'll still start to get a little bit of a panicked eye, but as soon as we hit the day, that's not going to be as much of an issue. I suppose any effects could still happen during the day if we were already panicked. So if you wanted to just be super safe, you'll automatically wake up at 6 at dawn. So it doesn't make you sleep all day, but if you still were panicked, you could continue resting and manually wake yourself up. So that has been our very first day in the game of Dredge. Oops. A very, very soothing, relaxing game, kind of like Airborne Kingdom. This one is a little bit more narratively driven. We haven't gotten into the story proper yet. We're still in the very, very early stages of we're a fisherman and nothing else is going on yet. So that's going to do it for episode 1 of Dredge. Hope you enjoy this one. I love this game. Definitely going to be playing this one all the way through. So I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.